You see, when we ask, "What is the meaning of life?" we imagine there must be an answer, a single sentence that would make everything clear. We picture some grand cosmic explanation, as if life were a puzzle we could solve, and then finally we could relax. But that is the trouble. The question itself comes from a misunderstanding. We assume that life is a problem to be fixed, rather than a song to be danced. When you listen to a piece of music, you don't demand it hurry up and get to the last note. You don't say, "Well, what's the point?" The point is the music. The point is the playing, the hearing, the moving with it. And so it is with life. If life had a fixed meaning in the way you imagine, it would be like a joke with a punchline. Once delivered, the game would be over. But you've been taught, since you could first speak, that you must achieve, you must arrive, you must find the answer. School told you the purpose was to graduate. Work told you the purpose was to succeed. Even religion told you the purpose was to reach some state beyond this one. And so every moment became a stepping stone to some other moment. But what if there is nowhere to step to? What if this, right now, is it? This is why the very question, "What is the meaning of life?" can become the barrier to living it. It's like trying to capture the ocean in a bucket so you can finally own it. But the beauty of the ocean is in the endless movement, the tides you cannot hold. The irony is that life's lack of fixed meaning is not a flaw. It's the very thing that makes it free, unpredictable, alive. If you could know its ultimate purpose, you would be a prisoner to that answer, marching toward it like a soldier toward a final command. Instead, you are free to play, to create, to live without the burden of justifying existence. The trouble with our obsession for meaning is that we think of life as if it were a journey with a precise destination, somewhere important, somewhere final. But that is only because we've mistaken the map for the territory. We want life to be like a railway track, stretching in one direction with a grand station at the end. Yet the truth is closer to a winding path in the forest, where the joy is in the meandering, the detours, the things you never expected to see. When you demand a singular meaning, you turn life into a kind of bargain. If I live well enough, if I think hard enough, if I follow the right rules, then I'll get the reward. But what if there is no reward waiting in a sealed envelope at the end? What if the so-called reward is simply the ability to see that there's nothing to win, only the delight of playing? You see, the mind is terribly uncomfortable with that. It likes definitions, destinations, labels. It likes to pin the butterfly to the board, not realizing that doing so kills the very thing it wanted to study. The living quality of life is in its motion, in its refusal to stand still long enough for you to categorize it completely. If you could truly accept that there is no ultimate meaning written somewhere in the cosmic filing cabinet, you might notice something astonishing. The pressure lifts. The demand to live up to an imagined standard dissolves. And then, rather than trying to force your existence into a neat little sentence, you begin to live it like a poem, not to be solved, but to be savored. The real miracle isn't that life has no meaning, but that it doesn't need one. Just as a flower doesn't bloom so it can impress the sun, and the waves don't crash for applause, you are not here to justify your being. You are here. And that is enough. The great paradox is that once you stop hunting for some cosmic certificate of purpose, life begins to feel more purposeful than ever. It's as though you've been trying to listen to music by staring at the sheet music, rather than letting the sound wash over you. You've been analyzing, instead of dancing. And the moment you put down the score, the melody begins to move you in ways no amount of thinking ever could. You see, this endless search for meaning often comes from fear. Fear that without a grand reason to exist, everything is pointless. But that fear is only the shadow cast by the belief that you must earn your right to be here. The tree outside your window doesn't lie awake at night wondering what its life is for. It simply grows, sways, shelters the birds, drinks the rain, and in doing so it fulfills its purpose without ever having to name it. We humans, however, have made an art form of trying to outsmart life. We say, I must know why I am here before I can enjoy being here. But that's like refusing to eat until you understand the chemical composition of every ingredient on the plate. The feast of life is spread before you, and instead of tasting it, you sit there dissecting the menu. When you drop the idea that life must answer to you, you begin to notice it's already answering, not in sentences, but in colors, in laughter, in the feeling of sunlight on your skin. The question, what is the meaning of life, starts to seem like asking, what is the meaning of chocolate? You don't eat chocolate to get to the end of it. You eat it because of the experience itself. And perhaps that is the shift, from trying to possess meaning to participating in it, from being the spectator demanding a plot to being the dancer who is the movement. The mystery stops being a problem and becomes the very thing that keeps the dance alive. Once you understand that life's value doesn't come from a fixed meaning, you begin to see how dangerous it is to chase one. The moment you decide this is the meaning of life, you start cutting away everything that doesn't fit that definition. You turn your own existence into a small, fenced-off garden, ignoring the wild forest beyond because it doesn't match your blueprint. And yet, it's in that forest, unpredictable, untamed, that life often shows its most beautiful faces. This is why so many people feel trapped, even when they seem to have figured it out. They've chosen a purpose like one chooses a costume, wearing it so long they forget it's not their skin. And eventually that costume begins to itch. The edges fray. You realize you've been trying to live a script rather than improvise the play. The irony is that meaning is not something you find like a hidden treasure. It's something you create, moment to moment, without even trying. Every laugh shared with a friend, every act of kindness, every breath you take in awe of the world, these are not steps toward some final goal. They are the goal, disguised in plain sight. The problem comes when we think we can freeze it, store it, and point to it like a trophy. But trophies gather dust. Life's meaning is more like the wind. You can feel it, you can ride it, but you can't put it in a box without killing it. So perhaps the reason life has no ultimate fixed meaning is the same reason a dance has no destination. The steps themselves are enough. The music is enough. And when you stop trying to own the music, you finally hear it. And so when you drop the search for some ultimate purpose, you find yourself lighter, almost as if you've been carrying a weight that was never yours to bear. You start noticing small things with a clarity you didn't have before. The sound of rain becomes music. A walk down the street becomes an adventure. A simple conversation feels like an entire world unfolding. Without the pressure to squeeze life into a tidy sentence, it begins to spill over with its own richness. You see, meaning is not a fixed point on the horizon. It's a living, breathing process. It's not found in the grand declarations of philosophers or carved into the marble of temples. It's found in the way you sip your tea, the way you listen to a friend, the way you pause to watch the clouds change shape. Life's meaning is not separate from living. It is the living. The mistake is in thinking that if we can't define it, it must not exist. But perhaps the deepest truths are the ones we can't cage in words. You don't need to pin a label on a sunset to feel its beauty. You don't need to write an essay about laughter to feel the joy of it bubbling up from within you. The truth is, the freedom from a fixed meaning doesn't make life emptier, it makes it infinitely fuller. It means that at every moment you are free to create, to change, to explore, to be. You are no longer bound to a single script. You can step into any role, improvise any scene. So perhaps we can stop asking, what is the meaning of life? And instead ask nothing at all. Perhaps we can let life answer in its own language, the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of waves, the heartbeat you feel in your chest right now. And in that silence, you may find that the absence of an answer is the greatest answer of all.